Hello, Salam Shatra, and good day to Miss Nick Saleha. And we, Group 2, would like to present our assignment that was assigned to us. Before going further ado, I would like to introduce my team and myself. So we have Hemeshwari, Andrin, Irdina, and myself, Sanusha Vasu. So we have chosen question 1 as our assignment and to present our introduction to Malaysian Constitution group assignment. The question will be Malaysia is a parliamentary democratic state. The leaders are appointed because of election. Basically, a general election will be conducted in every 5 years or when the Yang di Pertuan Agong dissolve the parliament. Discuss about the election in Malaysia in terms of types of election, procedures and requirement, voters and candidates. Your discussion should be supported with legal provision, case law, scholars' opinion, and your point of view. We have done each part, and each of us will be presenting different part accordingly. Without any further ado, I would like to cover up our table of content to give you a better image. Well, you see, we have the introduction part, types of election, procedures and requirement, voters, and finally will be the candidates to be covered up today. Let me begin my presentation with introduction part. So, Malaysia is actually a beautiful country with variety of religion living in it together. It is a country full of diversity and culture. People live together with great understanding in each aspect. This is all starts because of Malaysia is a democratic country. Malaysia follow the federal constitution monarchy of parliament democracy when the term of His Majesty is the king, is the head and the leader of state. Parliament play the crucial role as it is a constitution monarchy where the head of state will be Yang di Pertuan Agong, which means YDPA, and he will be elected by the conference of ruler by rotation, which means ruler of 9 Malay states. It has its own time limit for each king. So every 5 years there will be a regime. The authority of the king will be exercising his executive power on the advice of cabinet except on limited proceedings. So election in Malaysia involves public and politician entities since 1963. There will be two election level done in Malaysia, which will be the federal level and state level. So federal level is election for the members in the Dewan Raya, which means the House of Representative and also known as the lower House of Parliament. Meanwhile, the state level election will be made for the member in numerous state legislative assembly. So the prime minister and the chief minister will be assigned as the head of executive for each levels. So Malaysia has its election time, as I said, which will be the 5 years time. The whole government and authority could change every year, or maybe before that too. It depends on um, Yang di Pertuan Agong. So the leader are appointed because of election. Election will be held for the purpose to know how public decisions are made and the power of authority change to other government. So each 5 years the parliament change in Malaysia since the first meeting date or unless dissolved earlier by Yang di Pertuan Agong YDPA at the request of Prime Minister, like I said before. So election will be done in 60 days time after the dissolve of parliament, and the next parliament should enter within 120 days of dissolution of previous parliament. Unfortunately, Sabah and Sarawak would not join the same date of election happen in the other state in of Malaysia, as there is exemption. They are exempted to the post-election happen in 1999 in Sabah and Sarawak in 1969 and 1974. So that's all for introduction. I hope introduction gave you the good impression. Now I'll pass it to Hemeshwari to cover up the type of election. So here you go, Hemish.
Hi everyone, my name is Himishwari Gunendan. So, as for my type, I'll be talking about the types of election. As in Malaysia, the election exists at two levels, which are the federal level and state level election, along with two types of election, that is, local government election and by election. The federal level election are for those in membership in the Dewan Rakyat and the lower house of parliament. These members are elected from single member constitutes and are drawn based on the population using the first past the post system. The party that collected the majority of House of Representatives will form the federal government. As the second level, state level election. It is conducted for membership in various state legislative assemblies. The members are elected from single member constitutes and are drawn based on the population by using the first past the post system too. But it is not similar as the federal level because the state assembly constituents are usually in smaller in area and population than parliamentary constituents. A party that forms the majority of the state assembly will create the state government. As the third election is local government election. It is used to be an election for members of local government such as municipal council, but it is now no longer held in Malaysia because the local government election was suspended after the Indonesia-Malaysia confrontation in 1964. The suspension was never lifted and made permanent under the Local Government Act in 1976. As the final type of election, it is by-election, which is held when a particular seat in Dewan Rakyat become vacant. This type of election occurs when a member of parliament MP dies or MP is disqualified from being a member of the Dewan Rakyat. The seat will be declared vacant because the MP has been absent from every sitting of the Dewan Rakyat for 6 months without leaving the Dewan Rakyat. The exemption is if the vacancy occurs when the tenure for the current parliament or state assembly is less than 2 years. That's all from me. Thank you. I'll be now passing to Andrew Mark.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Andrima, son of Anthony Sami. Now I'm going to present about the procedures and requirements of election in Malaysia. There are two categories under procedures and requirements, which are election process and election date. So now, first look at the election process. Uh, all this election process is seven members of election commission oversees elections on the prime minister's recommendation that Yang di Pertuan Agong appoints its members. There are two categories under this election process, which is nomination process and campaigning. The first of all, nomination process. The election commission has established nomination centers so that candidates can register themselves unless they are qualified. Any Malaysian citizen may typically register as a candidate. Candidate submits the required paperwork and pay a deposit. For parliamentary seat, the deposit was 5,000, while for the state assembly seat it was RM 3,000. In 2004, the sums were changed to RM 10,000 and 5,000 respectively. In addition, each contender in 2004 had to put down RM 5,000 as a deposit for the removal of banners and posters following the elections. Now look at the campaigning. Campaigning from the day of the nomination until the polling day. Polling day is the election day or voting day. There is a legally permissible campaign period. The inability of opposition parties to access media that is under government control frequently hinders campaigning. Opposition parties were given a small window of time on the Public Radio Television Malaysia, which are RTM radio station, before the 1999 general election to deliver their platform statements. However, the government declared a change in strategy in 1999, asserting that because RTM was controlled by the government, preference would be given to political parties in the government. Now look at the election day. There are three major points under this election day, which is agents, voting process, and counting and announcement of election results. What is election day? On the election day, registered voters may vote for their preferred candidate at the designated voting center. These voting locations are typically schools or community centers that have been reserved for that specific day. All school activities are halted for the day. Holidays are also declared in states where election day does not fall on a weekend to increase voter turnout. Now look at the agents. Each candidate is permitted on voting agent per voting center. Their job begins early in the morning by ensuring that the metal ballot boxes have not been tampered with. They also make certain that the ballot boxes are securely closed before the voting begins. The election commission seals the boxes after they have been locked. Each agent may place their seal on the box. The next is voting process. Voting process is elections. Elections are only open to registered voters. Before voting, Malaysian citizens aged 18 and up must register in the Election Commission's voters registry at any of the Election Commission's office, post office with computerized facilities or specified counters. And last but not least is counting and announcement of election results. Following the closing of voting, election agents inspect the ballot boxes before opening and counting them. They also supervise the counting to ensure that the total number of ballots equals the number of votes cast. This includes counting the number of double votes. Every ballot paper has a serial number and it's distributed sequentially. So that's all from me. Now I pass it to Irina. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, madam. Hi, my name is Irina. I am a part of this group. So, for voters and candidates, I would just like to explain briefly about the details. According to Article 119 Constitution, citizens who are Malaysians who are at least aged 21 years old and above and have registered themselves are eligible to take part in the voting process. However, if there is an individual who are being ill of mind or being imprisoned, they are not eligible to take part in the process. So, for voters, we usually could vote through a voting form, but somehow due to the advanced technology we have nowadays, we can also take vote through a website called My SPR website. Other than that, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the most vote goes to the winner. And then for held for a specific constituency, it is held when there is a casual vacancy. Casual vacancy is when there is a member of the parliament who has passed away or being removed. Therefore, this election can be held. And then for absent voters, they are not physically present due to the personal reasons, such as if they're working as a military. That's what absent voters mean. So for candidates, to be according to the political party, if to be a member, they do not need to be contesting as a member. A candidate does not need to be contesting as a member of any political party. That's what I meant. Sorry. And then for the next one, senators cannot be chosen because during the election we cannot choose them. The selection is is a process for 70 senators, and then it is a process for 70 senators. Yes, that's what I was mentioning, because they are there are a lot of senators that were divided, so therefore we cannot choose any of them. They have to follow according to the law. Last but not least, the Constitution states that Parliament should minimize numbers of appointed members. Other than that, we could also abolish members who are not a part of it. So that's all from me today. Thank you.
So to conclude, Malaysia is actually a wonderful, beautiful country with residents that follow and obey the rules and regulation as well as law. So Malaysia, coming back to the introduction, Malaysia is a democratic country where public plays the main role and have the main rights by choosing the right government to the country. That's all from us. Thank you.